Yo, call me Sonic Adventure the way I banter. Hey everybody, what's up? Welcome to episode 1 of Sonic Revisited. That's right, and we are starting today with an iconic one, Sonic Adventure. If you guys don't know, I'm starting this new series called Sonic Revisited, where every week on twitch.tv/gamescage, I will be playing through a mainline 3D Sonic game, followed by a review here on the YouTube side. Just an excuse, now that, things have chilled out a bit. Obviously, we have Dream Team coming out next week, which is going to be fun to cover. But besides that, going through all the 3D games, I think is going to be a fun journey. So please consider subscribing to your boy here so we can hit 50k, and hopefully you guys really love this series. Please leave a like and please leave your comments based on everything you see in the video. But let's get right into it. So I replayed Sonic Adventure, and I think this is the first time that I basically 100% as in, got the Super Sonic Battle since I was a kid. Every time I revisit Sonic Adventure, I kind of just dick around in it, like I'll beat Sonic's story. Maybe if I'm feeling it, I'll play through, Tails and Knuckles' story. It's very rare that I do like, a every character run of Sonic Adventure, right? So to go back to the game, start to finish, really understanding the story and the characters, it felt really good, and it reminded me why I think we all still really love this game, and why I think it actually ages so much better than a lot of people gave it credit for. I know obviously we all like to meme on the Sonic's transition to 3D was rough. It's like I so disagree. Now I want to preface this by saying I did play this on PC with a few mods on that I'll leave in the description below. There's like a mod installer that auto gives you a few mods, but it's nothing crazy. It just makes it so that it's widescreen and that you have the older models from the Dreamcast, because the port on PC is the DX version, which a lot of people apparently have issues with. I didn't, I grew up with that version on GameCube, so that was my way of playing Sonic Adventure. But yeah, going back to the game, I was just so happy to see how much spirit it had, how much of the reasoning I loved Sonic was in here. And obviously I feel like this game, with having 6 playable different characters, fleshes that out a lot. I figured obviously the best way to tackle this is, go over each character. Now let's start with Sonic, right? Obviously, the star of the show, the homie, the boy. God, I love the intro of this game, right? When you fight Chaos, your first encounter with him against the police, right? You already get a bit of Sonic's personality in there, how he's fighting him. And then right away, right, you go, to Emerald Coast, right after, Tails' plane crashes, and you are met with, I think, what is one of the best starting levels of a Sonic game ever. I still think Emerald Coast, from music to vibe to level design, is still so fun. The way you're just walking around, you're seeing, these animals walking around the beach, the way you got loop-de-loops, the way you've got, spin that, springs to go off, you got everything. It feels like they did such a good job of showcasing, now that Sonic is in fully 3D, right, how they can translate 2D level design philosophies into 3D. I think they did a pretty good job with this. There were some alternate paths, there's some good, movement options in there, and it just feels like so liberating. And obviously, Sonic, how he controls is so good in Adventure. I love how Sonic controls in Adventure, down to, holding jump longer to stay in the air longer, down to, just even going in circles with Sonic in the Adventure games feels so good. It's so satisfying how they handle the movement in Sonic's story and everything, right? And obviously, you end up traveling through Station Square to go to different locations. You're going to levels like Windy Valley, which I still think holds up super well. I think the one level that doesn't age too well is the casino, where you just have to play pinball and go through the sewers to get your rings. But if you're good at the sewer levels, you can get a shit ton of those rings right away, and that's satisfying, right? And then you get the little machine shaking you so you can get the Chaos Emerald. You end up going to Red Mountain, which I think is a level that's super good. You end up going to Ice Cap Zone, which is so well done. I love the little skateboarding segment in there and everything. It's just like I was so surprised at just how well the level design held up in Sonic's story, just how fun it was. I don't think there was ever, I think the best part about this is there's never a level I was really frustrated in. Yeah, they have some platforming, but it sticks to platforming and quick movement as opposed to being stalled, and I think that's why that level in the casino one stand out so differently, because they stop you from what you're doing, which is movement. I still love the light speed dash as an upgrade. I still love, the spin dash in the game is so satisfying to pull off. I still think there's so much about Sonic Adventure that is so good. And even the story, I really enjoyed Sonic's story. It is the baseline. What is the one where you were stopping Eggman? And I think also props to Eggman in this game, by the way. This is before you can tell that they have a fun rivalry where they have a lot of back and forth. You can tell Eggman's just kind of a dickhead in this game. He's just kind of mean-spirited. He does not care. He wants the end of the world. There's nothing about him that says like good, right? And I think that's such a pivotal, important part of Eggman as a character. You know, I think that's so not necessarily like important, but it's such a cool thing to see now you going back to today how they are, right? So I really love, you know, the fights. I love the fights with Chaos. I think they did a really good job. The only one level I also didn't like with Sonic was the egg carrier level, which is like a little annoying, you know, where you have to move around different spots, but still fun nonetheless. I think for the most part, Sonic's campaign held up and I enjoyed it. And before I get to the other characters, I want to talk about Station Square. I never realized how much of a character Station Square is, right? Because obviously, you know, we all know how it feels to run around that town, go explore it, but there are continuing storylines throughout that, you know, throughout the game, the more you play it, which is so nice. You know, for example, there's this one guy you see outside the hotel, you know, who apparently he has like this whole plot line of him cheating basically on two women at the same time, and you see how he's like saying like, how am I going to explain this to them? To then later on, when you beat another level, you go into the hotel and like those two girls are confronting him right in front of his face. There's another part where, you know, you can't go to the Mystic Ruins as Sonic anymore because the police are blocking the way and saying, hey, we're actually on strike, we want to get better pay. And I thought that was so cool. Like, I love how they did little things like, okay, justifying you not being able to go to a different area, but putting some kind of story narrative to it. There's even this little girl that stands in front of Station Square being like, yo, like, my dad is actually stuck in the Mystic Ruins and can't come back because of the strike. It's like little things like that where like there's multiple storylines that are going on. There's this one woman who's like addicted to gambling, and anytime she's in front of the casino area, like she's telling her kid like, yeah, I can't wait to gamble, and then the kid's like, I haven't seen my mom in like a day because she's just in there. And it's like little stuff like that to show how cool it is that Station Square is a whole character. Even the Mystic Ruins, I mean, when you go deep into the jungle, you can see the explorers saying, man, I want to go back home to my wife and kid, which I find is so cool. It's like, it's little stuff like that I just feel like make the world so alive and made me miss humans in Sonic. All right, now I gotta talk about something that made me fucking crazy. So Big the Cat's campaign, you know, long said to be one of the worst things. The reason I never go to 100% this game often, the reason people a lot of hate it, and I could not believe playing it and having my chat tell me, dude, you just have to hold down when you get Froggy, right? And then you hold A, don't go too far, and just move left and right, and that's it. And that was it. And once that clicked with me, Big's campaign, no joke, was 20 minutes. And I've never felt so much like insane feeling in my life. Like, I felt like I was gaslit for years, being like, this is the worst thing ever. I was dreading doing this. I was like, all right, the rest of the stream is gonna be me doing Big's campaign, and it was literally 20 minutes. And in fact, I ended up actually loving it because, you know, getting Froggy quick was fun. I ended up enjoying his little funny story because Big is such a funny character because he really doesn't care. Like, he's just kind of, you know, going around. He's just trying to find his frog. He has no idea why people are getting Chaos Emeralds and all this stuff, and it's so fucking funny. And by the way, to circle back quick to Sonic, I just want to say that I really appreciate how they showcase the characters in this game. I feel like they did such a good job with showing how much Sonic cares about his friend, showing a bit of his cockiness, like when he meets up with Knuckles, or when he's like talking back to Eggman, or, you know, when he's even caring for his friends. Like, I really love that one moment where, you know, Sonic goes in front of to kill Gamma, right? Amy's like, don't do this, I trust him. And Sonic, you know, without a doubt, is just like, yeah, I mean, you must have your reasons, I trust you. Like, stuff like that really means a lot to Sonic's character and his nature. But Big the Cat is just a silly guy who just wants his frog back, man. Give him his frog, man. Amus' campaign is also on the shorter side, about, what, 30 to 45 minutes, where basically, you know, she's just trying to run away from one of these, you know, big green robots. And I kind of liked her campaign. I liked her little movement. I liked her little movement with the hammer. She's very cute in the game. Like, if you wanted a game that defined Amy as cute, it's this one. So her levels aren't too long. They're very short. And I feel like it was like the least, not like, how do you say this? Like, not least memorable, but they were definitely like, okay, like, I kind of just played this, and it is what it is. There's nothing too special about them, but I enjoyed it. I liked her little story, you know, with the bird, but I feel like it's one that's kind of like, I like the ending of it, you know, how she sort of realizes, maybe I could be a bit more dependent without Sonic, right? And I feel like these little character moments at the end of each campaign mean a lot to me. Tails' story is actually one I really adored, right? Because Tails' story is basically an alt POV of Sonic's story, where they're sort of of doing the same thing, but you're seeing how it would be like if Tails took over. And I find it so adorable. One, I love Tails' gameplay. I think to this day, Sonic Adventure 1 has the best Tails movement and gameplay and everything. I love how he flies. I love how he runs. I love that his levels are basically just almost time attacks, you know, against Sonic. Like, you're just racing against Sonic in every level, pretty much, except for like one level where you're skateboarding, or the last one, which is really good. But I really love Tails' levels. And also, I love the fact that, you know, if you fly to certain different areas and levels, you can go through like green rings to go fast. Like, there's ways to, you know, cut the paths to make beating Sonic even faster. And what I also really loved about Tails, again, is just that feeling towards later half of the game when you get separated from Sonic and be like, hey man, I have to be independent. You know, I cannot just rely on Sonic always, which is, it's funny that now we're going back to that type of character after years of sort of butchering Tails into a scaredy cat. But yeah, no, having Tails in there now, you know, being himself, and I loved this gameplay. I was so happy with how it held up, and just going back through those levels as different characters stands up so well. And of course, my boy Knuckles, bro, rougher than the rest of them, the best of them, tougher than leather. You can call me Knuckles, leather, not lever. But yeah, of course, Knuckles, iconic for the Emerald Hunt. And dude, I cannot believe how much they regressed this shit in Sonic Adventure 2, because the Emerald Radar in this game actively makes it fun to play in the Knuckles levels, you know, and the Knuckles levels are fun in SA2, but I feel like it is so much more enjoyable here, just being able to track any of the, you know, any of the Emerald pieces in order. You can have multiple like lights glowing at the same time if two emeralds are near each other. Like, the Emerald tracker in SA1 is just so much better than 2, and makes Knuckles levels ones I look forward to, and I wish I had more of, you know. And I liked how each level sort of, you know, gave itself a version that played with Knuckles. I also really love Knuckles' story, right? He was just very much someone who is isolated and alone, and you're seeing, you know, the memories, because he shattered the well, he didn't shatter the Master Emerald, the Master Emerald's getting shattered, and you're seeing him, you know, see his past, see his people fighting and all this stuff, and I thought that was really cool. And obviously, in general, the whole plot of the game, whenever each character is teleported to the past and you're seeing what Tikal went through, you know, trying to protect what the Master Emerald and understanding them in the challenge, and then, you know, her family just being like, no, we want this power, right? It is, you know, it is our power to have, and then, you know, they all get fucked and chaos shows up and it's a whole situation. But I really loved anything they did with Tikal. Very underrated character. I don't even say underrated, but like, it's a character that is so cool that I would have loved to see. Maybe if they ever made a remake of the game, I would love to call playable in like a past segment, and seeing how, you know, she played out in her life. That would be really cool. And of course, man, a story that is actually really fucking depressing, and that's Gamma's, right? A lot of people know Gamma. A lot of people have forgotten Gamma because of Omega, but Gamma's story is so fucking creepy and sad. I mean, you start the game, and it's the most different. Like, you start the game, you know, you wake up in Eggman's lab, and Eggman's like, hey, like, fight your brother right here, and the winner is gonna determine who is my henchman, basically my top dog, right? And they fight, and then you start to see you know, Gamma just being weirded out. Obviously, Gamma's design, I feel like, lends to how creepy the campaign is, but I love how throughout Gamma's campaign, right, he starts to meet people, right? Like, he meets Amy, and Amy says like, hey, like, why are you trying to hurt me? You know, like, I do you not have a heart? And Gamma's trying to understand this concept, right? And when he sees the birds flying around, and when he's seeing different characters interact, you know, or Amy making sure he's saved, like, all these little things that end up making Gamma question reality a little bit and be like, damn, like, maybe working for Eggman is wrong. The way Eggman pits the robots against each other is so evil, almost. And you can tell this is before Eggman cares about his robots, because I feel like nowadays they make it a point that Eggman cares about his creation. I think the ultimate testament of that is Sage. So to go back to a time, right, where, like, you know, Eggman doesn't give a fuck about his robots, and he doesn't mind if they die or this or that, is kind of crazy, right? And seeing, you know, how Eggman treats the other robots, and then eventually Gamma realizing like, oh shit, Eggman is the villain here. I need to free my brothers by nuking them, basically fighting them, killing them to free them, right? Freeing, you know, the little bird or animal that's inside them, kind of like throwing it back to the original trilogy of games, you know, obviously how the robots would have little animals in them or flickies or whatever, and just doing that until all the animals are free up until he has to sacrifice himself, you know. So the bird, obviously that ends up, you know, befriending Amy, is also free with his family. And I just thought the Gamma plotline was so good. And also, can we talk about Gamma's fucking gameplay is better than the mech gameplay in SA2? What the fuck? And it's like, it's almost shocking actually. Like, playing this made me think like, huh, I'm gonna check out Sonic Adventure 2 next, but I'm like, how did some of these things regress? You know, some things got better, like I think Sonic definitely got better in SA2, but there's some things where I'm like, how did the mech gameplay in 1 stand up better than the mech gameplay in 2? How did the Knuckles levels in 1 have a better radar than the ones in 2? And you know, obviously I'm sure there's development reasons for that, but for the most part, you know, I was happy with how a lot of these campaigns play, and they were fun, you know, they weren't too long. Sonic's obviously being the longest, rightfully so, is super good, and I think they did a great job. And of course, you then unlock the final story, aka the Super Sonic story, which I adore this ending. You know, this is the first time I did this really since I was a kid. So having it, you know, so that Eggman is basically shoved aside, you know, he's trying to stop Chaos and he can't, is crazy, right? And you're seeing Station Square literally obliterated, like genuinely just fucking gone, just finished, gone, destroyed, is crazy, you know. And I think what I adored about this part is something I talked about on Twitter actually, and when I was playing, is I love this moment where, you know, Chaos, you know, perfect Chaos is standing there menacingly, right? And you see Takal's spirit show up being like, hey, we need to seal him, right? His power, he's out of control, right? And then Sonic's like, hey, but if we do that, then where's he? Like, he's just gonna be angry again, you know, he's just gonna, his soul will be trapped, right? But he's still going to be mad and his heart's gonna still be fucked up, and this will eventually happen again. And that was such a cool moment to see Sonic as a character and showcasing how much why we love Sonic is free, his nature of wanting freedom for people and caring is so fucking good, you know. And even though this guy, you know, literally just destroyed an entire town, right, he still wants to give him freedom in some sense, or at least free the darkness from his heart. Very Kingdom Hearts like in that sense. But you do the Super Sonic fight, which I think is super raw. You get open your heart playing, and it's just an awesome ending. It's not too long, it doesn't try to do too much, and I just loved it, right? And obviously I can't talk about Sonic Adventure without talking about the fucking music. Oh my god. Music, fantastic. I love how every character has their different themes and it fits them so well. You know, you have Sonic with the more rock side. You know, you got Big with very silly instruments. You got Amy with the more pop star music. You got Tails with the very adventurous, happy song. You got Knuckles with the raps and the what's it called? You got what's the instrument? The jazz. I don't know, the more jazzy vibe. You know, you've got Gamma obviously with a more sad tone. Like, I just loved all the music in the game. You guys know that soundtrack is incredible. And overall, I mean, I just really enjoyed the story. I loved that every story ended with a character arc done very well. You know, I love even Knuckles also being like, hey man, I might be isolated, but it is what it is, like stuff like that. And I feel like story holds up. I feel like a lot of the gameplay held up more than I even thought it would. Like, I thought the game was so fun, and I totally, by the way, if we're talking about just the future, I could 100% see a remake, man. And I could see a remake fleshing out some of these character moments, having more stuff to do in Station Square, right? Having more storylines pop up, and even just like, you know, fixing certain things about the game, obviously, because I think for the most part, you could have the game be as it is, right? While making the levels a little more fleshed out, work a little better. But for the most part, man, they cooked, bro. I love this game so much looking back at it, and I'm so glad I revisited it. I'm really happy, man. Sonic Adventure there's a reason the game is still loved and iconic to this day, you know, besides the adventure pose. Just the vibe of it is good, the character showcases are good, the gameplay is varied, and I love it, man. I'm so happy about it. But guys, let me know what you think about Sonic Adventure, of course, and I will see you all next time. Peace out. You're the best.